right.
All right. So, um,
Well, I
let's.
see. I see the little icon at the top, so we must be live somewhere.
Yeah, we are live, and this is, of course, one of those normal days. The city council didn't get. Well, they had like an hour and 11 minute meeting, and it didn't get available to pull down until 20 minutes ago. So we hadn't really had time to review and timestamp and do all that. Plus, we got a new version of the software tonight, which I stay on the bleeding edge of everything. And I can't show the replay screen like we normally do because there's a little glitch in this beta version that I didn't catch till 3 minutes before the show. Anyway, excuses. Um, but we'll be able to get through it anyway and let everybody know what's going on. So, how's your day been, Mr. Lowry?
Oh my gosh, it was hot as Hades out there today. I was doing something that I haven't done since when I was in high school,
And what's that?
and it was horrible. It was
I have
horrible, Rex.
I have so many comments for that, but go ahead.
You're mine, that rust and gutter, I'll tell you.
I didn't
No,
say any gutter stuff, so you
I,
immediately went to you haunting boys immediately go to the gutter. Anyway, what were you going
no,
to
I
say?
mean, our mothers told us about you boys from Ruston and all that, and Monroe and all the bad things over there. They warned us about all of y'all. Oh, and Airline High School, they warned us about them city boys too, But
Yeah.
anyway, uh, no, in H Town, we were doing things like throwing hay, and then when you was off,
Mm-hmm.
we was pouring concrete out of a sack.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I
I've
was
done that.
doing today. That's what I
Oh,
was
that's
doing today.
that. They make these great big. Well, they're not. Well, some of them are pretty big trucks, and they like take the concrete and tumble it around, and they'll deliver it right to where you need it.
Well, see, I've heard of rich people getting those kinds of things, but
Uh, hey,
this
I
this
look.
this
I had
was
to
Operation Poor Boy. Okay.
I had to patch a hole in. My mom and dad owned an apartment complex when I was a teenager. Anyway, long story made really short, there was a big worn out spot from the garbage trucks going in and out, the water over time. So my dad, during it was like August of that year, I had to fix this hole, and it I had to mix like I don't know, it was like 40 or 50 bags of sacrete, and I put down the hog wire and pretty much did all of that myself. And I was about half the size I am now in high school. I mean, I think the bags of saccharin weighed more than I did.
Yeah, they're like 60 pounds. So I mean, I went
Yeah.
the cheap route. I mean, they even making 80s now. So
Oh yeah. There you go. Okay, so
well,
let's check and see if we are actually live. We got about 30 plus people watching across YouTube and Facebook. Hello there, Mike and Judy Dillingham. Glad to have y'all watching, folks. Anybody else that's watching, shoot us a couple of comments. Again, we're on the bleeding edge of the software here with a new version, so let us know that the comments are working. And what all are we going to talk about tonight?
Well, mute that over there. Well, tonight is going to be a humdinger because there's going to be. So, Rex, we've talked in some of our other shows about how much information we've had pouring in lately, right?
Correct. Yeah.
S- some of it good, some of it bad, and a few shots at us, few shots at me, quite a few shots at other people,
Right.
and it's almost more information than we can consume, right? So we came up with an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I mean, I say we, maybe I just need to take responsibility and everybody can blame me for it because it was kind of my idea, but I did ask you about it and you approved it.
Yeah.
So the thing is, we've got so many emails, anonymous emails with information. There's no way we can run down all this stuff. You
I
guys
know.
are putting the work on us.
Yeah, really. And I don't think we have time to deal with it tonight, but yeah, we got some screenshot dumps in Facebook Messenger of all things for over bus routes, like Bossier Parish School Board bus route issues, and I got some comments for that. I don't think we'll have time tonight. We may have to put that off for next week. Yeah, it's a lot of information between the Proton Mail, regular mail, Facebook messages, text messages, plus the normal stuff that happens. It's a lot of data to go through. All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and let's jump into our normal
Well,
routine and do our countdown.
well, I think we should, but I also think we ought to tease everybody on what circles of the globe we're going to go so that when we go on break here, they can tag some people and
Yeah.
say, hey, they're going to be talking about First Cyprus. Did you know?
Oh, no, I didn't actually know that. I guess I need to read our notes a little bit while we're on the
Ha-
countdown. So we're talking
haven't
about another church tonight?
haven't you heard? There, Cyprus's name is being changed. It's going to be referred to as First Cyprus. That's what the word on the street is.
Oh, that's
And
part of the dumping of the proton mail.
yeah, I mean, it's not us. It's just what's
I had
out there.
forgotten. You are correct. We have received some of
Okay.
those, so we're just going to put it out there. There may or may not be any truth to it, whatever, but we're putting it out there.
We're just getting it out. We're moving it along here,
All right.
and well, last show, remember we talked about Red Rover. I
Yes.
mean, we there's a part two to Red Rover.
Oh,
I
this is
mean,
getting deeper and deeper. So it's like in the game where there's a line on one side and a line on the other, and Red Rover send Billy Bob right over.
I could have made a joke there, but I'm not. We're going to keep
Yep,
moving
yep,
along because
yep,
we got to go to that break.
yeah.
And Bossier City Police Department. Did you know they
Shuffling
got some?
money around. I heard that they took money away from the police department today. Is that correct? Technically.
Oh, see, you had to go and jump off on the Bossier City Council, and there were some change orders. Yes, you're correct.
Okay.
There were some change orders in Bossier City. And did the taxpayers make out on these change orders, or did, I don't know, construction workers or
According to King David, the math works out fine.
the math always seems to work out fine. And then I don't know. I mean, something about influence and internal affairs investigations and all kinds of crazy stuff. Does any
Hmm.
I don't know if any of that interests anybody or anybody cares about any of that, but if you do, maybe you ought to tag somebody that does interest because when we come back, we're going to share a lot of emails pertaining to all those subjects.
So we're going to talk about another church. We're going to talk about over budget stuff in King David's math that always seems to work out to his benefit. Taking money away from the police department, literally, and well, whatever else we can think of. How about that?
I don't know that it works out to King David's benefit. I mean,
It's what he
if you're
wanted.
meaning that he gets his if he get well, yeah, if he gets what he wants, then yeah,
I
I could see
I didn't say
that.
they were
But
going to cut
I
the check
mean,
to King David, but he's getting what he obviously wants, so it always works out for him. All right, well, let's talk about it some more after the break. We'll give folks
that's
time to get a stiff drink, get popcorn, tag some more friends, share it out, text. Look, you guys know the drill. Share the word out. We got lots to talk about tonight. We'll be back in about 2.5 minutes. How about that, Mr. Lowry?
that sounds like a plan to me.
Fire in the hole. We'll be right back, folks.
They
podcast is brought to you by Eagle Truck Center, soaring to new heights. The Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 23 years in the mortgage business. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And the many supporters, donations, and folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. Okay, I actually shared it out to my personal timeline and a couple of extra groups. I even shared it out over to the Stockwell neighborhood group. I'm not technically in Stockwell, but I'm in the group, and so I decided to heck with it. I'll share it out to them too.
Well, I would say you were in Stockwell. Well, no, you are on the other side of the ditch. So no,
That's
you're not in the Stockwell group. You're
Techn-
you're over there with
technically,
them high bloods over there.
yeah.
See, I knew you was one of them rich folks. I knew it.
Right. Yeah,
See,
sure I am.
see, I shared it out to the old H Town friends of Halton. Since we were talking about H Town earlier, and since we were talking about the bus situation out there with Halton, I mean, I don't know what all that was about. I ain't had time to read all that. If
I don't know.
so, if folks, if you're gonna dump some stuff on us, we do the best we can, but 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes right before the show, there's no
Uh,
way we can absorb it.
yeah, we need a little more prep time than that, so we may have to talk about that situation maybe next week because I definitely want to share my views on riding the bus because as a public school person, product of the public school system, I did ride a bus some, and so I'm going to share my views on that. And some people might not like it.
Oh,
I might
so
step
so
on some
you
toes.
so you graced a yellow hound as well, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'm not getting out. I'll get on that soapbox. We will discuss that next week. But I will say this. If you've had some issues with busing in Bossier Parish, send us a Facebook message. Go make a ProtonMail account if you want it to be completely anonymous. Send one to Bossier Watch ProtonMail, all that good stuff. Or just send us a Facebook message or whatever and let us hear from you about this busing situation. Apparently, there's soap opera and drama going on in busing. Imagine that.
All right, so we got to take around and thank some of the folks that are viewing and commenting. Mike, Judy Dillingham, thank y'all. Tiffany Renee Miller, David Womack, as usual, on schedule. Monica Hudson, hello. Sharon Evans, hello. Greg Bell, hello. Chris Davis is watching. Ann Price, how are you tonight, Miss Ann? There's David Womack again, wanting to know
Again.
about Shreveport Mayor.
Mhm.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Well,
Brandy Jones Faulting, Penny Carter Davis. She's tagging some folks. Thank you. Jim Anderson, Womack's tagging some folks, and Robin Triplet Simmons.
yeah.
Hello to all
Appreciate
of y'all. Jim Anderson, I almost left him out.
appreciate all y'all watching. So, unfortunately, I didn't get to watch the Louisiana Supreme Court hearing, which they did stream live over Perkins and his little whiny issue. I'm just putting that nicely. But anyway, so we'll see how that comes out. I don't think they were going to issue a ruling today anyway. They were going to stream live the hearing, give like each side 30 minutes or something like that. It was done via a Zoom session. So I don't think a decision has been rendered on that yet. If anybody knows any different, feel free to put it in the comments.
Yeah, that's what one individual reported to me is basically they just heard the arguments that the attorneys for both sides made, and that was it.
Huh.
They didn't, no ruling, no nothing. They'll come back later and probably submit a ruling.
Yeah.
So, where are we going to start tonight? Or do you
Well,
have
I
any
mean,
idea?
I'm ad-libbing and winging it as we go, so it really is not going to matter where we start as far as I'm concerned. I'm
Yeah,
flying by the seat of my pants as usual.
you're right. I suspect after tonight we will get an endless amount of hate mail, probably, because it's almost as if we're leaving no stone unturned of where we're going to throw a rock tonight. And it isn't just us throwing the rock, but we're just kind of letting it fly.
Yeah, and let me frame it this way. So before we share any of the screenshots or anything, let me frame it this way. We've said many times that we have no desire to take on any issues that don't have a political tie-in. And of course, we all know, as you've heard, everybody that's watching, you've heard Duke and I say ad nauseum about First Bossier and First Church that the tie-in there is quite blatant. I mean, every politician who's a politician around here is filtered through, First Bossier and been anointed by Jerkovich and the whole deal there.
Oh,
And
wait, whoa, not, wait a minute.
all right.
So it would seem that maybe there's another side of the story on that.
Well, there's
It would
always two
seem.
sides, yes. Here's what I was taught a long time ago. In most things, there's two sides to every story. There's no black and white. There's just infinite shades of gray. Somewhere in those shades of gray is the truth. So yeah, there's two sides to it, but there's also another component to this, which is we've been getting flooded with email about another church in town and some happenings there that need to be looked into, whether, it's legitimate or not, who knows. But now it seems, like I was talking about the north-south division with the city of Bossier and the city council. Well, we kind of have a very similar deal here with churches, apparently. And politics. There is a political element to this.
Yeah, uh, yeah, no doubt. And I mean, look, it's the politics in the church thing has been a issue that I have struggled with for a long time, and I've expressed it to you. I've expressed it on the show. I don't think I've been quite clear on the show expressing my position, but it it pains me to see the politics in the church, and the reason being is because I can't believe anybody would diminish their faith to the level of politics. I mean, I don't get that exactly. But
Oh, I was hoping
apparently
you were
some people
saying
think
that tongue in cheek.
some people think that's cool. David Womack is blowing up in the comments. I don't know if you saw it, but he talked about this is a squirrel here. The Louisiana GOP Republican State Central Committee meeting was held in Shreveport this weekend. I'm not on the Republican State Central Committee because somebody ran against me who was organized to run against me. Remember when a certain church had a lot of candidates organized to run to remove members from the state central committee as well as the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee? So interestingly,
Mm-hmm.
the LA GOP has their meeting up here in Shreveport this weekend, and David Womack is reporting, and still only half of the people who were elected to that even showed up, and it's right here in their own backyard. Imagine that.
Kind of like the city council meetings and everything else. Not a lot of people showing up.
Yeah. So, Rex, before we jump like neck deep into this church thing, I put a Twitter link in the notes. And I got to tell you, this really caught my eye. And for those of you that maybe I haven't been clear about kind of where I stand or what I'm thinking, and when we start talking about politics in the church and the church being used for politics and all, this Twitter link, this guy kind of summed it up really good for me. And
Let's see. Hold on.
I just,
I may have to do that as a screenshot because we've got a limitation in our software tonight of showing other links. But hold on just a second and I will take care of that. So read that text message that I sent you to while I'm getting this stuff ready here, if you don't mind.
yeah, and I got you fine on that,
Okay.
whatever that glitch is.
All right.
Sorry,
Perfect.
folks. Y'all are going to have to forgive us tonight. We're fighting some technological gremlins a little bit, but
Well,
we're working through it. Can everyone hear me and Rex both fine?
Yeah. Let us
Help
know
us out in the comments and let us know.
All right. Okay. So rather than being able to show the actual Twitter feed, I just took a screenshot of it and dropped it in there. Is that what you were wanting to show right there?
That is it, right?
Okay,
Front
perfect.
and center.
All
Now,
right.
I'm wondering how many people agree with this And how many people don't agree with this?
So it says
So everybody's
for those
go
of you
ahead.
watching on mobile or whatever, and screen might be small or whatever, what the tweet says is when the church seeks to advance its mission through the apparatus of the state, the mission of the church is inevitably corrupted in the pursuit of political power. We are salt and light, not sword and gavel. How very true.
Now, I'll have to admit my fault. I sometimes gravitate towards the sword myself. I'm guilty of that. I admit it. And but I've never felt like that the church should gravitate that way. And it makes me nauseated about the politics that move into the church. And the reason that I point this out, Rex, and I raise this because I want people to know that we don't take lightly, because I think some people think that we don't take lightly talking about First Church, and or even tonight talking about Cyprus and First Cyprus. Yeah, we're making, a little joke saying First Cyprus, and there's a reason that we said that. And when we share the emails, that we've gotten, you'll understand why. And it's a long road that has got us to this point and where we're at today, and there's a lot going on. And I think it my opinion is that for us to have dialogue about this subject, and it's a dialogue that I don't think would be had in the churches. I don't, either one, Cyprus or First Church. I don't think this dialogue would even take place. Do
Oh,
you?
I don't think it would either because they're using it. Well, let me rephrase that. At least with First Church, we know First Church uses it to their advantage, not necessarily for the glory of the kingdom advantage either. But you know, I don't know about the other churches in town specifically, so I will say, well, we'll get to that in a minute. Let me get off my soapbox before I get too far off the deep end for a minute.
So we've ginned that up, and maybe before we go just neck deep further into First Cyprus, should we hit the city council and shock and awe everybody with, you know, change orders?
Yeah, let's do that, and then we'll move into the church stuff. So let's get the sure enough political stuff out of the way and off the table.
Yeah, so the Bossier City Council had a meeting today, guys. And if you live in Bossier City or you have a business in Bossier City, I mean, you would care about this. So they start the meeting off. We don't have the video again because it was put up late, not enough time to get it ready for you guys. So they all of a sudden, and I have a question, Rex. You saw part of it, I saw
Mm-hmm.
part of it, but right out of the gate, they had the financial advisors for the city there, and they're giving a report on what they do with the city's money and all that stuff. And they had to add them to the agenda. I don't know. It was kind of weird. It's kind of almost like, why were they there? Well,
Yeah, and
I
I
don't know.
didn't.
Does it?
Well, I didn't really catch their whole report, and I hadn't had time to go back and listen to it yet. But and folks, if y'all want to check out the city council meeting, just go to YouTube, type in Bossier City Council meeting or Bossier City Council live stream in the YouTube search box, and it'll pull it up. And it's about an hour long meeting, but you can go back through there and see what we're talking about because I know most of you weren't able to attend the meeting. There were pretty much crickets chirping in the meeting again. So I didn't catch everything that they were talking about, but maybe because, towards the end of the meeting, they were talking about a project going, basically $5 million over budget and blah, blah, blah. Maybe
Whoa,
they
whoa,
had,
whoa! You're getting it. You're getting into Walter O. Bigby carriageway, but don't get ahead of
see,
yourself.
I
So
didn't mention the
the
project yet. Now you're jumping ahead too. So we're getting there.
Yeah, well, when they're spending millions of dollars of the taxpayers' dollars, I mean, I think people ought to know. But anyway, so the financial advisors for the city, the ones at management, I mean, why were they there? They had to be added to the agenda. It doesn't make any sense to me why they were there. And I got I suspect, I mean, because basically all they said was they're not kicking the can down the road, and that they're doing term financing for the
Mhm.
city, and they're saving the city money by basically giving them getting them reduced interest rates and refinancing their debt, you know, according to the terms for these loans or whatever to end at the same time with a lower interest rate.
Well, I'm
So
no
I
finance
don't
wizard, but
understand.
aren't most interest rates going up?
Well, yeah, they are, but I mean, I'm just wondering why did these guys show up to basically say that?
I don't know. Why
What's
didn't they
the
just put
point?
them? Yeah, why not put them on like next week or the week after on the agenda or something? Is there some critical,
Well, like
pressing financial decisions that you know?
I don't know. It makes me wonder, is something going on in Bossier City with money that they have to have the financial advisors roll up in there to start talking about the loans that they're doing? And I don't know. I mean, that sends up red flags to me that these guys are showing up. And there was another thing last show. Remember us talking about maybe Brandy Jones faulting. Remember last show us talking about uh, the the deputies and the traffic control and the SROs and
Yeah.
all that
Oh yeah.
stuff?
Yeah.
Well, y'all remember that the Bossier City and the police jury were all asked to chip in money, and they all voluntarily chipped in money, in Bossier City. And I got to tell you, I thought it was, look, I thought it was a good deal for Bossier City. I mean, it was only like 23 something $1,000 or a small amount of money
Hmm.
for people to process the traffic. But interestingly, at today's council meeting, it was disclosed that apparently there's a dispute with what they called a cooperative endeavor agreement.
Oh, who? And that basically means who's going to do what, when, right?
Well, they didn't talk about the dispute or what exactly is the dispute. It's another
Hmm.
one of those mythical things. So
Uh,
anybody out there that's watching the show, the 90 plus people watching, if you know what the dispute is with the quote unquote cooperative agreement, we would love to know. We don't know either.
hmm. I wonder if there's some dispute over the amount and how they came up with that. Of course, some people got a little upset that we actually start discussing the cost of the SRO program. And again, for all the haters out there, I'm not against SROs. I think they should put more SROs in there and arm them all with ARs, or actually arm them with M4s. Let's get away from semi-autos and put M4s in there, select fire. But anyway, I think in Rex's world, that rather than having the police officers out there, I think your best friend police jury woman was on to something. That, hey, why can't the average citizen go out there and help direct traffic? And hey, I agree, go train them. They got crossing guards, civilian crossing guards. Why not just up the ante a little bit, pay some retired vets or something like that to go out there and get trained and direct traffic? Pay them.
Well, I don't know if you realize this, Rex, or not. I'm sure that your good friend on the police jury, who happens to be a female, uh, I think the crossing guard program is actually embedded in the SRO program. Did,
Well,
did you know
I
that?
I didn't know that. So they're well. So I'm guessing. So, and folks, for those of you that know, because I really don't know that much about the crossing guard program, I just see them, doing the crossing guard thing during the school year. So they're trained by the sheriff's office, I guess.
I don't know about their training or any of that, but yeah, it's a part of the SRO program. And,
Hmm.
Bossier City kicks in money. I mean, I don't know who all kicks in money to it, but yeah, I mean, the crossing guard thing is a part of the SRO program. But I agree with you. I, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, and we
We just have
have
to see.
heard the rumor that when certain civilians, and I think it was even an elected official, we've heard attempted to help the crossing guard, there were like a few issues there with traffic and, like actually getting the kids across safely. Again, we don't have any proof of that, but that's just what we've heard. So I do agree that they definitely need to be trained on how to properly manage traffic.
Yeah, I agree. And no, Kara, you're not going to be able to do any of the training because I'm fearful of what will come of that training. I mean,
I've seen some of
whoosh.
her posts in the Benton Town happenings about traffic. I think I tend to agree with you, Duke.
Well, I got to tell you, I agree with her a little bit on that Benton Road crap. You threw that zipper method on me. There ain't nobody in Benton knows what the zipper method
Hey,
is.
that's not my doing. That's the state DOTD, and I remember learning that in like driver's ed when I was 14. Oh,
Well, uh,
side note here. Let me throw this up on the comments. Hold on. Brandy Jones Faulting says, side note, Adrian full hearing posted on Keel 20 minutes ago, in case anybody wants to watch. Okay, so back to driving.
all right. Well, screw driving. I mean, people are going to get there regardless,
Right.
and they're going to get mad if they don't. But it's going to all work out. So, Dale Touch. Remember Amanda
Dale Touch.
Nottingham's?
Oh,
I think this is
yeah.
the first time. Yeah, remember Amanda Nottingham's dad?
Right.
The CAO that left Dodie Horton's office, that left. I don't know, one of the schools to go to Dodie, then left
Mm-hmm.
Dodie to go to be the CAO. She become the CAO. Well, then now all of a sudden they're trying to make Dale Touch this job for Jacobs because supposedly Jacobs doesn't know nothing about civil service, so they want to get somebody in there who can be uh I don't know.
Look, from that perspective, I have to say this is not the worst move in the world because Jacobs doesn't seem to know a whole lot about anything legally speaking. So maybe Dale knows better. I don't know. But he's in the title going to be police liaison.
But yeah, so that's what this was about. So there's actually two parts to this Dale Touch thing, right?
Right.
So, and I like Dale. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I don't know him,
been
so I
friends with
can't.
the
Yeah, I can't say
I
one more thing.
I like Dale, but here's the thing. So there's two parts. The first part was you got to find the money, right?
Right, right.
So they had this ordinance to move money from the police department over to
Two.
the city attorney's
Right.
office,
And by the way,
right?
yes, and I have that audio queued up in the replay, which we can't show right now, but we can hear the audio if you want me to cue that up and play it.
Well, go ahead. Let's listen to a bit of it, and I'll say stop when we kind of get to a point, and I'll ad lib in there in the notes that I put.
Okay, here we go.
Ordinance to transfer $21,923 from the police department to the legal department in the 2022 general fund budget to fund a part-time police liaison to the city attorney. First reading.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm stopping a little early there. Part-time police liaison. So let's make sure that's clear. All right, here we go.
So moved. Second. We have a motion by Mr. Free and a second by Mr. Montgomery. Discussion or debate?
Mr. President, if I might ask a quick question of the city attorney on so the 21,000 and change, what line item in the budget of the police department budget is it coming from? I know it's not coming from salaries, but what part of their,
Whoa,
Yeah.
whoa!
Yeah.
Finance. Well, I've discussed it with her.
Okay.
She can probably give you a better answer.
Yeah, you just tell me when you're ready
Okay,
to
the
stop.
transfer actually is from salaries, from police salaries to,
Whoop. Okay. I'm pausing it right there. Did you hear what she just said? It actually is from
She
police
said,
salaries.
so we're short manpower, and well, maybe we're not short of manpower, but
Right. There's
I
two
think in a
sides to
minute
that.
they're going to say it on their. Yeah, they're going to say in a minute that they've got 17 open positions. That says to me,
Right.
you're budgeted with so many people and 17 more positions, you're short on manpower. So what you're going to do is you're going to take money from the salaries of the police department.
Yeah, and whether that money's been budgeted and is
What
just
am I
sitting
missing
there,
here?
it just doesn't sound good on the face of it.
No, so we need more bodies. We need more policemen. We have a hard time recruiting people to be policemen, and we're going to take money out of the budget for salaries.
Fair,
So
fair
I
enough.
don't know. Are you gonna play more? This
Yep.
video thing has got me screwed up. I can't
I know, I know. All right, so yeah, all right, folks, y'all
play some
listen
more.
up. Unfortunately, I can't show the video, so we're playing the audio. Here we go, continuing on.
Legal salaries and benefits.
All right, so we're gonna take 21,000 from
From police.
budgeted police salaries.
Yes.
It would still leave the police department with a surplus for this year.
And so that'll be able to properly fund every officer that's currently employed, and should, let's say this, I think the police department last I saw was 20 employees down. Let's say they had a gigantic recruiting event and next month hired 20 police officers. Could we fund all of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, mind if I jump in?
Yeah, go ahead.
So if we're taking it from salaries, everything's funded now, so do we have an excess in salaries? Because we sure don't want to defund like across the river does, because you'll never get them
He
back.
just took
Yes,
a
sir.
swipe
They
at Shreveport.
haven't been fully staffed the full year, so they have excess that can be transferred.
So I'm gonna go ahead and pause it right there because I got a comment from YouTube that I want to put up on the screen here in a second. So I want to be clear, on its face, this doesn't look or sound good because they literally are taking money from police salaries to hire a part-time police liaison for our inept city attorney. However, the other side to that is they have all these unfilled positions, so it's not like they're going to fire officers or anything like that to be able to shift this money. It's over, I guess the right way to think about it would be it's slightly over budgeted at this point because they can't fulfill those or fill those positions, so they're just shuffling money around, shuffling the peanuts.
Well, I'm wondering if you're having this problem in filling these positions, perhaps you need to sweeten up the job a little bit more. Maybe you could take that money and you could give everybody a raise down there, and you might not have no problem.
True.
But why would you not want to do that?
Well, that's a whole other conversation. We'll get to that here in a second. Let me put up this comment from YouTube. This is from Concerned BC Citizen from YouTube. Glad to have you watching on YouTube. Isn't there a police civil service representative already in place to serve as a liaison? That is a very good question. I wonder if there is.
Well, here's the thing. The Civil Service Board has a representative from the fire department, police department, one appointed by the local college, which would be, BIPSI. And I think it's the mayor's office is the other one or what have you. But the police representative and the fire representative are both elected by the members of the department. With that said, if Jacobs or the mayor, who is the appointing authority, had any question regarding civil service law, they always have the state examiner in Baton Rouge, who is the head of civil service in the whole state of Louisiana, who can answer any question that has ever been conceivably raised when it comes to civil service board. But for some reason, the city attorney of Bossier doesn't have the ability to reach out to those people. It begs the question, why? This isn't taking anything away from Dale Touch.
Right.
And here's the other thing. In the papers that were sent to the ethics board for a ruling on whether or not Dale Touch could serve or couldn't serve, and we haven't shown those, but we can get them up for everybody. I mean, there's nothing that is hidden about that. But the ethics board ruled first that Dale Touch couldn't serve. But then after the assistant city attorney sent them a Pareto chart or, organization chart of the CAO's role in the city of Bossier, which okay, it'll fly. The ethics board changed their position and said that the CAO is basically a glorified secretary of the mayor with no authority to direct or do anything at all. So,
Hey,
with that being said, Dale Touch was then given the green light by the ethics board that it would not be a violation of law because she wasn't really a CAO. She wasn't an administrator.
I like the term glorified secretary much better. That's a whole lot easier to make fun of.
Well, I don't mean it to be disparaging to her, but that's the God's honest truth. I mean, that's for the most part what they said, and that's what the mayor's office and the assistant city attorney conveyed to them so that they would change this ruling to allow Dale Touch to proceed. But I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to take a step back. Why is it they also put in that paperwork that they put forward a police chief that had no prior experience? I don't buy that. Bull crap. Estes had experience.
Yeah, he'd been on the
I
police
don't I don't
force for at least several years, and I'm probably on the very low side of that. In my discussion with him at I think it was a South Bossier luncheon or whatever.
Yeah, and he to me is well in charge of things. And well, let me say this, because there's a contradiction that I'm going to make later in the show when we get to another segment, when we get to Red Rover. But there's he's competent enough and has the skill sets to be able to be a chief and to do his job. And I don't buy for 1 minute that he doesn't have the knowledge to be able to administer civil service. And but yet they're saying they said in fact the city assistant city attorney in their stuff to the ethics board that no candidate for the police chief job had enough experience or had experience. I I don't get that. No, that nobody applied with experience.
Well,
That's
what is
bull
there?
crap.
And honestly, I didn't pay that close of attention to all that. But I mean, who defines or what is the minimum required experience? Is there such a thing?
Apparently, all of the candidates met the experience level to be able to take the test and try to get the job. So, I mean, if they didn't, then why did they even why did they not call for another test, cancel that test, and then call for another test that we don't have? Why were they allowed to even take the test if they weren't experienced enough to get the job? Why did the city council approve?
Yeah, that. Well, I've got so many nice answers for that question, but I'll keep them to myself for tonight. But here's the thing: is so our city attorney, who is inept at even reading contracts or even knowing open meetings laws and executive session laws, he's got an assistant city attorney. Now he needs a police liaison. I mean, that just sounds like a title so they can have somebody on the payroll. And again, nothing against Dale. I don't know Dale one way or the other, but this is I don't know.
Well,
it just doesn't smell right.
I like Dale, and Dale's a smart guy. Why Dale would allow himself to be reeled into the fiasco that is Bossier City Hall today, that escapes me. I mean, it can only be maybe that he wants to go down there and try to look out for his daughter. I don't know. That's one hypothesis. But I don't like it. I don't like them taking money from the police department budget, regardless of whether or not they have had these vacant positions where they would take that money and it ends up ultimately going back into the general fund. If it ultimately goes back to the general fund, then just change the budget of the city attorney's office. Don't take it out of the police department. Leave the police department with enough money to be able to hire 17 more people, or give everybody raises there to where you got 17 people with no vacancies beating the door down to come be a law officer in Bossier City.
Yeah,
I mean,
I would agree with that. Ryan Haygood says, and I had the comment up just a second ago, says, then why does she make more money than the mayor, referring to Amanda, the CAO glorified secretary? Yeah, and of course your wife agrees with you. I agree too. Use that extra money for recruiting or whatever other purpose if it's just sitting there in the budget. And I'm sure we could cover a whole show on that topic.
well, well, maybe if they're going to continue to have 17 vacant positions and not fill vacant positions in the Bossier City Police Department, maybe the council needs to cut those positions and give the taxpayers a break. If they're not ever going to do it,
Right.
maybe they just quit flushing the money through there. Or maybe that's extra money or that they've budgeted in there and justification so that then they come back around and the city can address their contribution rate to retirement systems that are upside down. Maybe it
Hmm.
has something to do with that. Huh.
Surely not.
Maybe we're shuffling money again. But and let's not stop there. We're going to jump ahead, guys, in the city council's agenda here, and we're going to go to, the public information officer, who, according to the agenda, just retired, is was formerly a civil servant of the police department. Well, that position just got moved, I'm pretty sure, out of the police department. When I was again, I only heard the council meeting one time, but it got moved out of the police department and it's going to be transferred
That
to
is
the
correct.
mayor's office.
You did hear that
Did I
correct,
hear that
because
right?
I heard it too, and because there was discussion that the public information officer would no longer have to be, was it post certified and all that, and would be under the jurisdiction of the administration.
Yeah, so don't know if that's good, bad. You know, I sometimes think that I think Mark Natale was a public information officer one time, but Mark Natale ended up going to the police department, getting post certified. He came to the fire department. He rode along. He learned what the departments, would do, because if you haven't rode in a patrol car, you haven't carried a weapon, you haven't wore a vest, you haven't stuck a needle bouncing in an ambulance down the road, you haven't put a set of bunker gear on and made entry into a fire, or for that matter, you haven't rode in a vac truck with the water department, or you haven't went to the water treatment plant and see the ammonia casks. You need to have those experiences. I mean, because you're not going to be able to articulate correctly all of the potential issues that could come up. Like, for example, if you have a engineer that creates plans with no lighting for a freaking road in a city, who knew?
Well, nothing
Yeah,
but
we'll
money.
get to that
Nothing
in a
but
minute too.
doesn't take anything but money to fix that. But yeah, I agree with you that to me it just seems far better for the public information officer to have some real world or firsthand experience on the job to be able to articulate the information, correctly and in a good public manner. But all right, so moving on down the
So
list here.
yeah, so the next item, real quick, they appropriated 24,000 to an IT company to search for vulnerabilities within the Bossier City, stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of boring, and they'll
Here,
generate some report. It
but
it was done.
here's the one thing there though that stuck out to me, and I was trying to find that and cue it up before the show, but couldn't get to it quick enough. Our wonderful city attorney made the comment and all that. I think Chris Smith, I think it was Chris, asked the question, and I'm just paraphrasing here: would the information from the vulnerability testing and all that be made public? And the basic answer was no, only general aspects of that. And I agree with that for obvious reasons. But then Jacobs chimes in that, oh, well, we would reveal, some of the more detailed information in an executive session. Jacobs, go actually read the law for once as an attorney and a former judge, and now the city attorney. Go actually read the law before you run your mouth. Go read the law on what public bodies can have executive sessions for. And it's not for disclosing details of vulnerability testing on your IT infrastructure. Go read the law for
Well,
one time.
he's worried about all these people with all that limbs and trash and all that stuff scattered up and down the roadways in Bossier City in their front yards. He's worried about those things, them hacking the system to get the, company to come out there and pick them up. He's stressing over that. I'm telling you, that's what it's about.
Very
But he
well
doesn't
could
want to
be.
say that publicly, so he's got to be able to go behind closed doors to do that. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay,
The
yeah, the
main
lights.
enchilada here.
The lights.
We
the
got to get to the
lights.
main enchilada because everybody wants us to talk about and show all the anonymous emails that we've got because they want to see. I mean, I think there's been people that have commented in our comments tonight on this shows whose names are in some of these emails. I think, if I recall correctly, and First Cypress. I know a lot of you are waiting on pins and needles for that, but we're going to torture your senses before we get to the bread and butter, because you need to know that you've had change orders to the tune of, well, in the council meeting, I think there was a $5 million number brought up within the last 60 days.
Yeah, and then Ruttenbuck kind of questioned that, and then Chris Smith, basically told him, well, yeah, you'll have to go get, buy some property or whatever, get access to a right of way or whatever it was, and that was like $3 million. And it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that $3 million. I mean, what's a few million
Yeah,
among friends on the taxpayer dime?
So Brian Hammonds jumped up and he revved this thing up right out of the gate, and he said, "Look," he said, "this $1.4 million change order to add lights to the Walter O. Bigby carriageway." Now, for those of you sitting in the back row and that like to sit in the dark section, here's what we're talking about. We're talking about a $1.4 million change order to the Walter O. Bigby carriageway. On Benton Road, the big bridge going back over the levee. The thing that we closed Shed Road down over. Okay. Anyway, Brian Hammond starts it out and says, "Hey, this is an extraordinary change order. I mean, just the last council meeting, he was going off on, 100,000 or something,
Yeah.
some small number, here we are, more change order."
Yeah, so I've got that
Ruttenbuck.
I've got it queued up. You want to listen to
Yeah.
it for a second?
Well,
All right.
let's hear some of it.
All right, so here we go, folks. This is today's city council meeting. Here we go.
And this is an astronomical amount for a change order, $1.4 million. Was did we not know we needed street lighting when this originally went out for bid?
Street
Most
lighting.
roads and everything you build, I mean, it's
Wait a
gotta have
minute.
lights.
Wait a minute. Does anybody in Shreveport or Bossier, if you're in a municipality and you're going to build a road, don't you got to have lights?
Well, I mean, anybody around here listens to Keel a lot, and that's one of Aaron's pet peeves on Keel is the lighting over in Shreveport. I mean, she's constantly on that. So Bossier should have known immediately, oh, we're building a road, make sure there are lights, so we don't get on Aaron's bad side.
So are you saying that we're trying to do it the Shreveport way? Is that what you're saying? In Bossier, we're trying to do it the Shreveport way?
Look, I'm not saying anything. The proof's in the pudding. Apparently, they didn't think about lighting this road until after the fact. And that's what Hammonds is questioning. I'm going to go ahead and hit play, so stop me again when you're ready.
Well, they said we didn't have no deal with Sportran, and apparently we had a deal with Sportran. We got more bus stops now, too.
You know how the government is. They take something very simple and always complicate it.
Yeah.
Here we go.
You asking me the question?
Yeah.
So that's Ruttenbuck.
When the project was passed over to us, there was not street lighting included in the plans that were nearly complete. So we worked with the city to commission a design to continue the lighting, similar to what we did on phase one throughout this project. There is lighting on this project. The bridge has lighting, but the either end of the bridge does not include lighting. So
Oh, Ruttenbuck literally
Oh,
just passed the Ruttenbuck.
okay. He just said when this project was passed on, there wasn't lighting. And so that brings to mind, I mean, well, who did it? If they didn't have anything to do with it, if Manchac didn't have anything to do with it, who did have something to do with it? And I'm not sure
Well,
exactly what he's.
well, I would have to also say we'd have to go back in the archives and look and see from the city council meetings, but I'm going to guess that the city councilmen at the time all this was approved were shown the plans. They probably even voted to approve those plans, I would guess, and none of them looked and went, no lights. Oh well.
Well, you just heard Ruttenbuck say that Manchac wasn't on the project, that this was done before their time. Part true, part not true. So let me clarify this, guys. So we're talking about $1.4 million of your money, and let me tell you what's true and what's not true, or what's not what's accurate and what's not accurate, and you make your own opinion here. You draw your own conclusion. So Mark Hudson was the former engineer for the city of Bossier before Manchac came along. NTB was the engineering firm. They started the design of this stuff, started working on it around 2007, year 2007, year 2008, right? Manchac was hired as project engineer on the Walter O. Bigby Carriageway Phase 2 in 2018, Rex. So Mark Hudson exited scene or was asked to leave or left or retired or quit or whatever he did, that was in 2019. Okay, so is everybody following along? Ruttenbuck just said that this all predates Manchac. They ain't got nothing to do with it. I mean, and we've heard this story before. Now, I've got a couple of copy cuts at the bottom of the file list, and I think let's go straight up to the copy of the Walter O. Bigby city contract, 12
Yeah.
of 14.
All right, give me just a second. Let me get that pulled up. Let me do this right here. Let me take that out of the way. And I think I can show PDF still tonight. Here we go. So here's the contract. Should be live on the screen.
Okay, so you heard Ruttenbuck just say that all this was before Manchac. It's before their time. They didn't even exist. They,
It's not on
hands
them.
off. Not on them. We ain't got nothing to do with it. But they became project engineer in 2018. But if you scroll down to the bottom of that contract on the
59 pages. Pick a page.
first, yeah, the first page right there. This is the bid. They're taking the bids. March 25th of 2021, right there in the middle. See the bold print?
Yep.
See the pre-bid conference?
Yep, right
So
up here.
Manchac, project engineer, 2018, pre-bid conference, March 25th, 2021. So, Chandler didn't come in until, what was it? April, May, June, July, somewhere in that range. And as soon as Chandler came in, they had already completed the bid process. JB James had won the bid. But so from 2018 to when they put this out for bids, and even if you look right here, specifications, look right above that bold print. Go up one little paragraph right there, folks. Specification, plans, contract documents shall be obtained from the office of the engineer, 700 Ogilvy Street, and a check made payable to Manchac Consulting Group.
$1 million.
Now,
Nope, $1,000.
No, wait a minute. It doesn't say Mark Hudson. It doesn't
Right.
say NTB. It says Manchac Consulting Group. Right?
Yeah. Well,
Specs,
and Bruce Easterly.
Specs, plans, and contract documents. I mean, well, if the office of the engineer,
Right.
what am I missing here?
Well, either way, here's the deal: is they all overlooked the need for lighting.
Well, but Manchac didn't have nothing to do with it, but clearly they did have something to do with it,
Well, sure. They
right?
and look, regardless of any of the actual dates of anything, they took over the project, they assumed control, and we're in 2022, and they're just now figuring out, oops, we skipped the lighting part.
Now, I couldn't find in our notes, if you go to that next document, working your way up, I couldn't find the original when Chandler put it out, but at the bottom of that page, it talks about the contractor shall start on or within 10 days following the date of the issuance of the notice to proceed, in which that was what I was looking for, because Tommy Chandler was sworn in, and then Tommy Chandler issued the notice to proceed. So Manchac, and that was in, last year in 2021. So if Tommy issued the notice to proceed and Manchac had been the project engineer since 2018, how can they say that they have no responsibility for this $1.4 million snafu? Did they not review any, or are they going to blame NTB like they tried to do for, wait a minute, there was another shortcoming on Walter O. Bigby Phase 2,
Mm-hmm.
Shed Road.
Mm-hmm.
How many folks remember that? The oldest road in Bossier City, a historical road that's getting chopped up and hacked up.
Yeah, well,
and
it
it's Manchac ain't got nothing to do with that either.
seems to be a recurring theme with Manchac, but don't worry, because Tommy ran his campaign on getting rid of Manchac, basically. So I'm sure, we're all still sitting here waiting. Let me see it. Is it time for Tommy to do what he said in his campaign yet? Oh, almost time.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, is it possible that Manchac didn't catch it? Is it because, I mean, isn't that what their job is? They became the engineers. Shouldn't they have reviewed it, or do they just rubber stamp what anybody sends along? Is it possible that they didn't catch it?
Yeah,
Or
that's what I think the likely scenario is. And instead of saying that,
or or is it possible that they did catch it and they didn't say anything?
well, that's always possible too, but you would think, well, why would they do that? And then you'd have to follow the money, and you'd say, oh, well, prices and costs have been going up, so maybe they delayed revealing this to help pad the budget, but that would, be like corruption or something, so we wouldn't want to say that.
No, I mean, you guys can figure it out. I mean, engineers make money based off a percentage of the jobs, and just saying, if you have a change order and you have a delay, I mean, things are always getting more expensive. Certainly, from say when this project was first thought about, the cost then and the cost now are definitely not in the same realm.
Oh yeah,
But
as a matter of
you
fact,
know,
Ruttenbuck even mentioned that during the city council meeting, that they're actually saving the city council. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he basically said they were saving the city council money because if they would have discovered this snafu later on, it would have cost 4 to 5 times more money than it's costing now. So it's like
yeah,
something goes on sale. So your wife or significant other or whatever goes out and buys something just because it's on sale, and that saves you money, even if you didn't necessarily need it. But anyway,
well, I'm just
but
wondering, were they building in failure of the project for the city, you know, for some other reason? That's what I'm wondering.
who knows? It's hard to tell with those guys. It always boils down to the money, and it's a lot of money in this case. 1 point some odd million bucks.
So I don't know exactly where we're at and if we can get to it, but Smith, Chris Smith asks a question and he says, last 60 days, this council has approved close to 5 million in change orders.
Yeah.
And Ruttenbuck
Set
Ruttenbuck says,
Rutro.
where are you getting the 5 million from?
Yeah, let me. I'm gonna hit play and let's listen on through this, and we'll see how long it takes to get to Chris's question.
So we're bringing this measure before the council. We feel lighting is appropriate, and we're putting that in your hands to make the decision.
So when you said,
So that's
you
Darby.
guys, you're talking about when y'all took over as the project manager of the deal, right?
Yes, sir.
Because they don't know that.
Correct.
And that's what they need to know, that you took over that role, Manshak.
There wasn't lighting included in the design.
And Darby's talking
And
about
there was
Hammonds
debate
and
as to
Smith
whether or not
being the
do we
new guys.
incorporate that into the project, do we bid it separately, how do you want to handle it? And we feel as though this is a
And it
reasonable
took from
approach to putting
2018
lighting out
to
there on the
now for them
carriageway.
to come to that
Costs are
conclusion.
going up,
Yeah.
it's not going to get any cheaper. You know, we've got a similar lighting project going down.
All right, here we go.
71
Listen.
South for 1.2 million.
Well,
So,
Oh, go ahead.
I wanted to tell you too, down the road,
King
there
David
was,
speaks.
another exclusion from the design plans, were no sound barriers.
Oh wait, there's more.
At this point, we're looking to, have design changes on the overpass, and then the cost associated with, installing the sound panels, on the side,
Yeah.
So King David's buttering up Hammonds. Oh, and just so you're aware, there's going to be more cost overruns as well coming up, including sound barriers and whatever else. So just be prepared for that. We're going to be north of $4 and maybe north of $5 million over budget in this project.
But and when we had the question on Shed Road, they couldn't delay. They were
Right.
that no, we can't delay. It will cost. What was it? Ruttenbuck said millions,
Millions.
or
and
no,
millions.
six
Seven.
digits.
Was it 6
Remember?
or 7? I
7
think it was
digits.
7. Yeah, maybe it was. Yeah, I think it
Yeah,
was
he's
7.
like, oh, it's going to cost 7 digits. Well, we're
Mhm.
well on our way to trying to get there now, I think.
They're trying to crowd on 8 digits. All right, I'm gonna hit play again and let's see if we get to Smith's question.
To answer your question, there were several things that,
So this is still King David talking.
That were left out.
correct.
And notice he's talking really quietly.
One other question, Ben, for you. Is this an estimate by J.B. James, or is this an estimate by y'all? Is this gonna go,
This
they gonna
is
send this
a-
out for bid, J.B. James?
This is a hard number from J.B. James, and if approved by the council, will be incorporated into their contract. So
Oop,
their
we don't shop
subcontractor
around, do we?
Performing that work. That subcontractor's performed quite a bit of street lighting in Bossier City. They're very capable. We feel like it's a good plan, and now's the time. And doing it through J.B. James, you don't get a lot of he said, she said, and coordination problems and things like that. So it's our opinion that this is the most advantageous path forward for lighting that for the city. We've worked with the city administration and city attorney on that, feel like we have a good measure. And it's a surprise, I get it, but we feel like it's something that needs to be incorporated into the project.
Mr. President.
Here we
So-
go.
Sir?
Um,
All right, I'll pause it for a second. So we got Smith queued up. So,
So 3 years before Chandler lets the letter to begin work, Manshak is in charge, and they didn't notice the crossing at Shed Road wasn't secured. They didn't notice the lighting was missing. They didn't notice that any sound barriers were in there. I'm just wondering, but the rubber
yeah.
stamps down there at City Hall have been, I mean, they're working. They're all
Oh, yeah.
good. Just rubber stamp everything.
Yeah.
Nobody said full stop when NTB stood up there and said, whoa, hold up. We've got evidence to prove this ain't on us. This is on Manshak. What city councilman stood up down there and bowed their chest out and tried to say, well, maybe we don't need to do something. Maybe we don't need to move forward with this.
Maybe Ruttenbuck is not the golden boy. I mean, maybe he is. Obviously, he's able to finagle his way through all that. Look, I don't blame him. He's not going to sit there and admit, whoops, we just overlooked this guy. Sorry, it's a $1.4 million mistake. You know, of course he's not going to do that. I want to put up a comment by your lovely wife. She says, how can these professionals miss these huge project items? This is like me, being Kara, closing a house without having the title checked. Incompetence.
Yeah, exactly. And David Womack says Bossier City is like the best client ever. Anytime they add money, Bossier City says green light, send me an invoice, checks in the mail, we gonna pay for it. And
Yeah.
all y'all, the taxpayers, you're on the hook for all of it. And your councilmen are not bowing up on it. They're
Well,
just not doing it. It's rubber stamp. And to their and Rex, I'm going to say this. I'm going to give Smith and Hammonds. They weren't on top of this. That when this whole thing, this snowball got rolling down the hill, they weren't a part of this.
right.
But there certainly are now. And you know what? I don't know. There needs to be some accountability down there.
So they need
And
something.
Chandler ain't doing it.
No, Chandler's sitting over there, and I think he finally said something at the end of the entire meeting. So he and Jacobs are, well, inept. All right, here we go. So I'm going to hit play. Let's listen to Christmas dialogue here.
Of course, I'm not blaming Manchac or anything. I understand the circumstances that got us here. My concern is now, just within the last 60 days, this project, we've incurred almost 5 million, a little over 4 million in additional fees, expenses that that weren't originally budgeted for. Mr. Montgomery is saying that there's more that's going to be coming in the future. And so to me, it just seems like this project is going to end up being very over budget. Is that accurate, or how would you characterize where we're going to be when it's all said and done?
I'm not sure that I follow. What 5 million are you referencing?
I love that. What,
Well,
5 million?
We just had a ordinance a couple weeks ago where we settled a property acquisition.
Property acquisition. Okay.
So that was 3 million. This is 1.4, and then of course we're going to have some additional cost. So
Yeah, what's 3 million here?
Now,
and there?
now look. Yeah, well, that's news. Everybody should know. Y'all know where the $3 million acquisition is. Nichols Oil Lube on Benton Road. I use them. I take my cars there. That's what they're talking about. They bought the oil change place. Nichols Oil Lube. They bought it. City of Bossier owns the oil change place. $3 million.
And I don't know how much further in the meeting it is, but we need to. I'm going to hit play again for a minute. Let's see if we hear King David's comment, and that'll relate to King David's math. Here we go.
that's my concern, is that this is going to end up being way over budget than what we had originally planned.
Well, as far as the construction, Councilman Smith, it's on track. This is in addition to that
wonderful
contract of 1.4.
Hey, here's a thought. If they had caught this earlier, the lighting may not have cost us as much because prices are going up.
That's right.
Million.
Keep going.
And it's y'all's pleasure to award it or not.
Oh, basically what he just said is if you don't like it, don't take it.
Yeah. Don't put the lights up. Let everybody drive in the dark.
But you feel like this is the cheapest way to go?
I do.
And I think to answer
All right, here we go.
your concern, and I think Mr. Easterly's here as well, that in these size and magnitude of this contract, you come out with a budgeted number, and I can't remember the right of way. Was it 6 million that we budgeted? Maybe Angela knows, but I just should use that number. Well, I mean, you get to the point where you got to do the project. DOTD says this is how it's gonna be, so you have to settle it, and sometimes there's no way to anticipate.
I agree.
There's
I
no
agree.
way to anticipate that
these
you need
additional
lights.
costs. But
That's
I think
King David's
that we're-
justification.
and tell me if I'm speaking.
All right, here we go. Listen.
You know, out of turn, but it appears to me that we've identified those significant material numbers as far as future change orders, and that's why I was bringing up the sound barriers, because that came up. You don't want to build something like that. I mean, our office sits there, you know, within 100 feet.
Oh,
or
God
so.
forbid they got to listen
So,
to vehicles
I
down
mean,
the
these are
carriageway.
things that you have to do that, you know, they were not included. And you, I don't know how you go back and say why. I guess going forward, maybe you have ideas how we can eliminate this
Right.
in the future.
well,
But
wait a minute. You
we
could have
have to go
eliminated
forward and
it when you. No, you don't have to go forward. Do y'all hear all that crap? That's bull crap. We pulled up. Remember this project, Rex? We did a deep dive on this. This project was guided by the state DOTD rules, and they could have pulled back on it at any time. But no, who articulated the most that we got to start tomorrow? It's going to cost us so many digits that Bossier City will go bankrupt and we won't be able to build a YMCA. Holy crap. Who was it? Who was it? And now he's sitting here literally saying what he's saying? Are you kidding me?
No, he's really
Bull
saying
crap.
it.
King
And
King David, it was you. You're the one that pushed this. Who knew that we had to have lights? Who knew we had to have a sound barrier? Who knew we had to close down or have permits for the Shed Road crossing? My gosh, your guys, Manchac, were there for 3 years. This is King David's because he
it,
pushed all this.
isn't that why
He
we
owns
pay
it.
them the big bucks?
He owns it, and everybody else on the council that went along with King David on it, they own it as well too, because they didn't have the fortitude to stand up and fight it. They should have. Smith did the best that he could do.
Yeah.
I mean, ridiculous. And Chandler, where are you? Have you come out of the closet yet? Has David allowed you to even come out of the closet? Has he give you permission to see the light of day just a little bit? I'm just wondering. We want to know. The people watching our show want to know.
Yeah, I have so many answers for that. Hold on, I'm gonna hit play again. Here we go.
complete this project, and these are unforeseen costs that have
Unforeseen. You're right, King David. It is unforeseen. It's literally in the dark because y'all weren't smart enough to put lights on the project.
Good grief. Come on. Keep
So,
going.
but I
We're
think-
going to torture.
And your question was, do we know the end? Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think barring some catastrophic event, we know that we've got the additional stormwater pump station that we have to do that DOT put on us, the sound, the lighting, we're through with the.
Sounds
right
like
of
a
way, am I
theater.
correct?
We are
And we
finished
will
with
get-
property acquisition.
Okay.
And they forgot about property acquisition. Oops. Oh, crap. We need to buy all the property up, don't we?
Yeah, who builds a building on property without having the property acquired, right?
You would think that would be quite obvious. All right. So that's pretty much kind of all I had queued up in the timeline that we could find. Otherwise, we'd have to listen to the rest of this. And I'm certainly not going to the end of the meeting where Darby finally kicks Tommy in the shins and gets him to actually say something. This is amazing.
Ending that right there, and we'll roll through and finish up on City of Bossier stuff because we know y'all are bored to death of City of Bossier stuff. But Darby asked an amazing question. He asked how much money is left in the fund, and you know what the answer was, Rex?
There's no telling.
Nobody knew the answer.
That literally no telling.
No,
because they didn't know
nobody
what it
knew
was.
the answer.
Yeah.
He wanted to know how much money's left. Nobody knew the answer.
Yeah.
But on a good note for the taxpayers of Bossier City, while Tommy's hiding in the closet and they're putting change orders in the millions down there. It's just your money. They didn't roll the taxes forward.
Yeah. Well,
Did you even
and
know that?
no, I didn't know that. And I want to be clear that, they are at around $5 million over budget on this project as of right now, 4.5, something like that, before the sound barriers and whatever else they got. Is this almost a
Yeah,
what is that called? A boondoggle?
yeah, I think that's what they call it. I don't know. We didn't call that. We had something else we called it out in Halton, but it wasn't a boondoggle.
Man,
That must be a Monroe term.
maybe so. All right. What's
Hey,
next?
what about that Jack Bump Skaggs page that was sent to us? You remember seeing that?
Wait a minute. Now you've caught me at a loss
Yeah, and
again.
I threw it in the notes, but yeah, we cover that the next show. So Red Rover. How many folks do y'all remember Red Rover? And this is still we're going to segue out of Bossier City, but this will segue into our email dump, and the email dump is going to get us to First Cypress and Bossier City Police Department. All this kind of comes together, but in the show last show where we covered Red Rover and what that is, it's a business, over there off of Stockwell that kennels, animals.
Right.
And you want to cover what we were reported?
Well, yeah, let me see if I get this correct because I was just taking a look at the other websites you mentioned that we don't want to go into tonight. But basically, it's really a case of a good old boy in the city of Bossier with connections who is picking on the Red Rover business because he doesn't like the dogs barking and using the city attorney's office to write tickets, literally to instruct the Bossier Police Department to go out and write tickets. I mean, we showed the proof. It's literally in the police report that it was the ticket writing was pressed forward by who was the one guy's director of communications or whatever his title was, under the direction of the city attorney, who would be Jacobs.
Yeah, so the city attorney directed the police to go out there and write the owners of this business uh, for barking. That's what it says in the police report. No, so for barking, I
Yeah.
mean, and so that would have been a violation of the city noise ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's the rub on that, Rex. Here's the part two of that story. Um, we know that it was you know the assistant chief, and we got that by way of an anonymous email, and we did a public information request, and lo and behold, in the police report for the incidents that have taken place out there is where we found the city attorney directing the police to go write these people in that business, and there was some more stuff, and we'll cover that again here in a minute when we pull that email up.
Right.
But interestingly, here's the thing: the business, all of that out there was zoned commercial. So the the house and the home of the the deputy fire chief, Steve Pinnell, built his house out there, and he built a residential home in a commercial district. So I don't know for a fact, I got to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure they wrote tickets for a residential zoning violation. Well, how can you write somebody in a commercial zoning district for a residential violation
Good
when
question.
the commercial was there before the residential home was there? Now, how does that work?
Yeah, how does that? All right,
Anybody know?
so I'm looking at on the incident and police investigation report. Hold on, I'll actually pull that up on the screen so everybody can see what I'm looking at here. Hold on. All right, let's see. Let me drag this over here. Whoops. Okay, so this is zone. See, right? Is this what you're talking about? So right here on the incident investigation report, on this one, which was July the 8th, it shows that the daycare facility at 606 Stockwell Road is zone B12E.
Yeah, that's certainly not zoned residential.
No, so it's right there in the incident report that it is zoned as a business. Um, and it's literally a dog boarding kennel, and they wrote them a ticket for excessive barking, or I don't know, whatever it was.
Yeah, so apparently folks out there didn't get the memo, and you know, I don't that hey, you could be wrote a residential violation, but the officer wrote it up that the city attorney directed them to go out there and write them up. So I don't know. I don't know if we should just go straight to that email now or not.
All right, so which cut is that going to be?
I don't know. I think we're just going to have to cover it as we go because it's going to be this is going to be pretty brutal.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, so I need to know which July 18th email from Bossier Watcher. Okay. Um,
yeah, the Bossier Watcher one. I may have labeled it. Okay, so
yeah, I
and
got
that's
it right
another
here.
point. That's another point we need to make. And we didn't share this email because there were some things in there we kind of didn't think it needed to be out there or what have you. But you know what? It's out there because we've had some people call us and some people say, y'all sent this email out. Well, you articulated it on the last show, the distinction between us and whoever sent this email, because they named themselves Bossier Watchers. And I mean, we're Bossier Watch.
Right.
I mean, and we don't, we're front and center right here. I mean, that's not us, it's somebody else. And they made a lot of charges in there. So, the other part of it was some of the language. So if your ears are not in tune to read, see, or hear some language that's inappropriate, then
This ain't
you
the
might
show for
not want to
you.
watch. This ain't the show for you. You might not want to watch this part, but it is what it is. And as it would turn out, there is some validity to what was emailed to us. And so here we go. Let's just jump right off into it.
All right, so let me flip this over here, and since I can't show the screens, I'm going to drag this over here. And all right, so folks, I realize that the type on this is a little small, and somebody needs to learn to use the enter key when you send us an email and break up things into paragraphs. It makes it easier to read. But anyway, so Duke, if you want, I will go ahead and read this along. This is the email you're talking about, right?
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. And we want to be clear, this was sent to us and also carbon copied to John Settle, apparently. And I think previously the Bossier Watchers email was also sent maybe to some city council members or something, seems like the first email or two. And again, the reason that we're showing this is there was some truth to the first email as well. So anyway, here we go. It says, I would like to make you aware of disturbing things going on at the fire department. Brad, and is it Zagone or Zagoni? I always get it wrong.
Well, George DeMint called him Zagoni,
Okay.
and we coined him. That's where we coined the name Chief Zagoni from, but it's actually Zagone.
Okay. So Brad Zagone is an alcoholic and a liar. Whoa. Brad purchased a portable breathalyzer for his city Tahoe. Now, I want to stop right there for a second because that's not actually a bad idea. And look, I don't go get toasted and drive either, but I have a friend and client who is an attorney who literally said that he keeps one in his vehicle, and so does his wife and his son, just so if they get pulled over for any reason and any shenanigans go on, they can literally pull out their portable breathalyzer and compare it. So
But
I wouldn't hold that against him.
but I bet they aren't the fire chief of a municipality and or driving a public vehicle.
Not at the moment. We'll put it that way. Okay. So anyway, so Brad purchased a portable breathalyzer for his city Tahoe. You're right. That does make it a little more challenging. He drinks with.
Now there is the potential. There is a potential justification, I mean, man, we could spend all night going through these emails, but there is a potential justification. I will tell you that at one time, Brad Zagone did do drug testing,
Well, okay.
and you know, he would go if you had somebody that got a DWI, or he would go to the jail, and he would do that because he was a
Okay.
paramedic. Now, I'm told he doesn't do that anymore. I don't know if that's accurate or inaccurate, but I'm told that he doesn't do that anymore. That there's another fireman that does that now.
All
But
right.
there's that.
Okay. He drinks with the jesters, an inner group of the Masons that thinks they rule the city. Oh, this is going down a real rabbit hole. He does the bidding of the Masons, not the mayor. That's funny
Now,
because wait a minute. I'm not going to mention a name, but you and I had a conference call the other day, and it didn't click about this email, but the Masons were mentioned. It literally just clicked in my head right now. Do you remember that? I'm not naming names. Do you remember that conversation? We
it's not
were
clicking in my head.
we were in your
It's not
office on
clicking in
speaker.
my head, but I don't know I don't know what a jester is. And interestingly, the thing about the Masons, not the mayor, Tommy Chandler was a Mason at one time. He
Well, and look,
he was. I don't know if he still is or not.
nothing
Don't
wrong with
know.
being a Mason, but I'll share with you the name of the person after the show. But we were in your office and I put it on speakerphone, like somebody's ears were ringing because we were talking about that person, and my phone rang. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
Now you know. All right. He does the bidding of the Masons, not the mayor. He recently purchased multiple Tahoes that have more options than the mayor's. He is a jester. He tricked the mayor by purchasing an expensive Tahoe and not admitting to the purchase. How would you hide buying a Tahoe? He spends his money like it's water guns, computers, and anything he wants. He constantly travels and takes a huge entourage to Baton Rouge and other places. He recently sent Rodney Taylor, director of permits, to Red Rover dog care to attack the owner due to dogs barking. Dogs bark. Rodney Taylor openly tells people that Brad Zagone and David Montgomery told him to write the citation. Well, it's literally on the
Now
ticket,
now
but
see Now see, well, but that's a little bit different. I
all
mean,
right,
in the ticket that the it says Rodney Taylor on the police report,
right,
but doesn't say anything nowhere about Brad Zagone or David Montgomery.
right.
So, you know, the connection there, I mean, would it wouldn't if they were putting influence on the situation, it wouldn't be in the ticket anyway,
Right.
right?
No, and it wouldn't be a large leap to tie those two into it, or at least King David. But anyway, he said, I was told by Brad Zagone and David Montgomery to do this. Who can stop them? Why does David Montgomery have anything to do with it? Well, do a little research and you find out he's indebted to Steve Pinnell, Brad's right-hand man. He is also a jester. What is with all the jesters? I just imagine King David now running around in a clown suit. He
Don't know.
He builds things for people like David Montgomery, using firemen to do the work, giving them free houses or a severe discount. Bankroll Brad did the same thing for the East Bank. Firemen did the work, then they billed the city while they were working. This is severe corruption. Now, that's a pretty serious accusation.
Yeah, and a lot of people assume because I retired from Bossier City down there that, I know all these intricacies. I mean, I've been gone a while. I
Yeah.
don't know. I know all of these people that they're talking about, and, I don't know all these people to be these type people, but what I would say at this point is that if these people that I knew, you know, are going after local business owners are, to do these kinds of things, I would say that's not right, and they need to be called out for it.
Okay. All right. So continuing on, let's see. This is severe corruption. Why does he have a slush fund? That just doesn't sound good. The money should go into the general fund like all the other money. David Montgomery helps Brad due to his family working for King of Bossier David. David openly talks about how he'll stop anything Tommy Chandler does or Chris Smith openly making fun of him. I mean, honestly, some of this is not news to any of us. He and Brad
No.
don't care about the city, only about themselves. Pinnell has been at the fire department for almost 40 years. He is stopping promotions and brings nothing to the table. He is severely overweight. He is and is getting the city into a lawsuit due to dogs barking. I don't know about a lawsuit, and I can't say too much, but I'm not so sure there will be a lawsuit filed. Brilliant, a 70-year-old fire chief, a moron fire chief, and King David attacking dogs for barking. Hello, what the hell is going on? Dickhead David and Bankroll Brad need to do what they were hired and elected to do. Pinnell needs to take his fat rear end to the house and load up move. Please fix Bossier. Please stop the corruption. Sincerely, Bossier Watchers.
Now,
A lot of stuff thrown out there in that email.
Now, Charles Rawson just made a comment in the comments, and I'll go back to the $3 million oil change place on Benton Road. In the video, I don't think we were able to show that part, of the council meeting, but I think, King David made the comment that, hey, oh, by the way, we own an oil change place and we will be able to sell it.
Right. The city's an
So
oil change business.
we're in the oil change business and we're going to be able to turn around and sell the oil change business for what? The same way the riverfront development thing's been sold, right?
That's a
We built
whole other rabbit hole.
that Sadow, it was Jeffrey Sadow wrote that article, I think, talking about
so.
how, the city built a parking garage for, I don't remember the numbers, but it was almost an equal number for what the whole development just sold for. Charles Rawson asked the question, I want to know who pocketed the money for selling old number 6 fire station. Now that fire station down there in the East Bank district, I think is what it's called, it's a brew pub. I don't know. Number 3 fire station off of Northside Drive. It was relocated on the opposite side of Airline Drive, basically a lateral move. And, it private business now owns it. Properties transfer hands in Bossier City. May all be on the up and up. I don't know. I haven't looked into all of that, but the most recent example is the $3 million oil change place. And that was because supposedly DOTD said you've got to change your road just this much, and that means there's no way to make it work without buying that property.
That's crazy. David Womack says, how do you verify the letter? All right. Well, here's the thing, David. So those are all accusations. But the person that sent that letter is also the person that sent us, whoever it is the person that sent us down the Red Rover rabbit hole, which turned out amazingly to be true. And when we did the public information request, we didn't expect to get back on the police report the fact that the city attorney directed the ticket writing. So whoever this person is, I'm not saying that anything in that email is true per se. Some of it that's in there we already all know, and Duke, you and I have talked about it incessantly on the show, as far as relating to the Good Old Boys Network, but I don't know. Maybe some of it is.
Yeah. So,
and our friend Ryan Haygood says most of that is true. Again, I don't know at this point.
There's one of these, I think, Cut 15, we'll move on to this, and this will go to Bossier City Police Department.
All right.
And
I do want to cut in for a second. Apparent breaking news. Your wife has commented that Liz Cheney has been defeated. Liz Cheney has been defeated.
thank goodness now she can just go ahead and swap over and be a Democrat and own who she is.
And go away. Okay. You want to bring up cut 15?
Cut 15. So now we're going to bump over to Bossier City Police Department. There is a lot of folks who are waiting on pins and needles to see some Bossier City Police Department stuff. Now, again, an anonymous source. We don't know who it is. And you know, a lot of people send us this stuff and they share some of this information and they want us to, I mean, we can only do so much. We can't get a lot of information, so we're left with nowhere we can go with it. So in this particular email, I'll just read it. Good afternoon. I am a patrolman assigned to night shift. I was hired by Shane McWilliams about 8 years ago. I would like to tell the truth about what's going on at Bossier Police since no one else is. Shane, oh, that's an exclamation point. Shane McWilliams was a terrible chief. He allowed detectives to do whatever they wanted. He allowed Chris Davis and the entire detective division to take off during the winter storm. He allowed Chris Davis and several other people to work at CentryTel for SWEPCO while they were getting paid, I'm assuming, by BCPD. He also allowed Brian Griffin and Scott Wells to do the same thing at CSRA. They would leave while working for Bossier City and still get paid by CSRA and SWEPCO. Brian Griffith, Daryl Worley, and Mark Owens also worked at Bossier Parish Community College while on the city time, or they would take turns not coming and still get paid. Brian Griffin and Daryl Worley were not even in the state of Louisiana and got paid for working at Bossier Parish Community College. Brian Griffith, Scott Wells, and Darren Barclay also helped Shane McWilliams cover up his multiple wrecks in his black expedition and his many thefts through the city purchases. Night shift has become a terrible place to be because of people like Chris Davis. He constantly spreads lies and makes people miserable. We all want change. We also have to worry about retaliation from Daryl Worley due to several people on our shift have had affairs. That was the part I was. Chris Davis has told people he wants to retaliate against them regardless of who else gets in the way. Please allow Chris Estes to fix the Bossier City Police Department. We wanted change, not just a new chief. We need change. Everyone wants off night shift and evening shift. Mark Owens destroyed everyone's holiday weekend just to let Scott Wells off. We are hurting. Change must come. They have to go. Patrol does not deserve these people. We, the people, are ready for what was promised. This isn't a political game. It's our lives and hope of the police department. So there's one email with, said to be from a patrol officer naming names. And, I know a lot of those guys and I didn't have to work with those guys, but I don't know those guys to be bad guys. I don't know them. I'm indifferent on that. To me, they're all good guys. So I think let's go to the next email.
All right. So we're going to which one? 16?
Let's go to cut 16.
All right. Here we go. Let me switch screens back over here and I'll drag this one over. All right. You want me to take this one and read it?
Yes, sir. This one's you.
All right. Says, to whom it may concern, Chief McGee was in charge for 2 weeks while the chief of police bathed in the sun at the beach. He has been praised for how well he did, but this again is just appearances. He spent 20 grand on his Tahoe for new lights. He allowed a car chase to continue for a traffic violation that ended up with a deceased child. He ordered Lieutenant Booker on a Sunday to come to his residence in Caddo Parish to fix a computer for his one or on loan class, causing the city to incur 7 hours of overtime for him to complete a class for his own personal needs. He gave Sergeant Perry a computer that was destroyed by him so he could get a new one. Richard McGee is what Shane McWilliams said he was, nothing more, nothing less. He is not capable of controlling himself and doing right. Richard McGee also has a rampant problem with the SOS guys for violence. Several are under investigation for excessive force. BHE was told about all the problems with Tyrone Warren attacking people and refuses to do anything about it. Tyrone Warren still goes to Baton Rouge in a city vehicle and charges the state of Louisiana mileage for reimbursement. This is clearly a violation of state law and Bossier City policy. Please help. Well, that part we could figure out with some information requests and see if it's true or not. But apparently, I got to say this, and look, we've gotten plenty of emails and stuff before from Bossier City police officers, and we're not going to name names, but we've had police officers actually reach out directly before with information that they wanted to share. And so this is not anything new that we're getting this information in. It just seems to be ongoing. And, you know, from what I know of Estes, I seem to like Estes. He seems to have been fairly straight up with me the couple of times we've met. Maybe he knows about some of the stuff. Maybe it's getting looked into. I don't know how that works with civil service. You know, whether it's internal affairs, civil service board. I really don't know how that works.
Well, it's interesting you would ask that question about internal affairs, because if you go to cut 20 and they're out of order, there's another anonymous Bossier City Police Department email
Okay.
about stuff.
All right, let me get to cut 20 here. And Melanie Stevenson Worley says she's now pissed. Let's see here. All right. Also, I want to point out. Let me put a comment up here. It says Chris Davis is right here and will answer any questions involving him. So, all
right. So this email again, we don't know who it come from. You know, but here it is. Just watch the show from last night. Jacob also instructs the PD on internal affairs cases whether to be investigated or not. BJ Sanford had a complaint in reference to extortion, malfeasance in office with an apartment complex. Jacobs instructed Estes that it was a civil matter. Last I checked, his role is legal for the mayor and the city council. You will hear the name BJ Sanford a lot more in the future. He is also the local union president and has ties to the mayor. Stay tuned. Well, we didn't believe or really think that Jacobs was telling a police officer to go write tickets. So I don't know that it's out of the realm of possibilities that the city attorney is directing the outcomes of internal affairs investigations.
Yeah, previously, I always said, there's no way. That's just a bunch of BS or whatever. But you're right. He literally, got a dog barking ticket written. So who knows what else he's got his fingers into.
So if the city attorney is directing the actions of down to a smaller level of, the police officers, I mean, is he directing actions when it comes to, say, murders or crimes or what have you? Is the city attorney determining what would be considered a crime and what would not be considered a crime? And I'm just talking hypothetically in the consideration to reduce crime statistics or anything like that. How far is the police department being micromanaged, and how far is all the officers here who are eating each other alive, how many of them are all being played against each other?
Yeah, that's
I'm just wondering.
Good question. That is a very good question. I mean, and that's to me what it seems like here. I want to make sure that we're clear that just like if we talk about issues in the fire department, we're not saying all firemen are bad or that, every fireman's a problem. It's obviously not true. And the same thing with Bossier PD. we all give them credit when they do things like, figure out a crime within a couple of hours, after, the very relatively rare shootings and all that in Bossier. But we have been getting these messages for a long time. And, the old saying, where there's smoke, there's fire, there's got to be something to at least some of these accusations. Now, how to fix this, I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about, like I said, about, civil service and about internal affairs and all that, how all that works. I have no idea how to fix all this.
Is all of this related to why Dale Touch is sought to be brought in?
That's a good point. Maybe a lot of this information is also being sent to, certain administration officials or city councilmen. Maybe that's why they're all on, or seem to be on board with bringing him in. I don't know. That's a good point.
And Charles Rawson is right. He says, that the Civil Service Board is compromised. I have to kind of agree with that, because when you have civil servants, we sent a public information request to the city attorney's office, and we asked for the mayor's memorandum on substance abuse or something like that. I can't remember the terminology we used, and they said that it didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as I recall, and maybe some current employees can tell me that there is confirm the fact that there is a no tolerance policy in Bossier City. But apparently that has changed, and apparently in Bossier City there is a tolerance policy now, since having a new administration. Why that's changed, or what exactly has changed, I don't know. But what I would say is I know of multiple circumstances that have been reported to us of instances where there have been violations of that policy and there have not been terminations. And that has caused problems within the ranks in the city. And we'll go further into that in another show, but there is a problem down there, and I think it originates from City Hall, and it better get cleaned up pretty fast.
Well, and I want to address a couple of things real quick as well, because Melanie Worley, did comment earlier. Okay, she's pissed. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Is Melanie the one that was mentioned in the email? And I don't want to draw attention back to it, but it's already been, live on the show.
I think she's related to Daryl. I don't know. All I knew was Daryl growing up. Right. I don't know.
All right. And so the other tie-in is Margie Ann Johnson says, this should get you some ratings. Are you happy now? Well, here's the deal, Margie. We're not doing this for ratings. I mean, we're at 120 people. We'll end up getting a couple of thousand views, which is about what we normally do. If we wanted to get real ratings, we would have teed everything up with First Bossier and First Church. We're sharing this out because we're getting inundated with this information. Personally, and Duke, I can't speak for you, but I think you feel the same way. I don't care what people do on their personal time. I don't care if the fire chief or the police chief or whoever wants to go get drunk and God forbid, drive around in their personal vehicle. I'm not suggesting they do that. I don't want them to drive drunk, but if they do it on their personal time, that's not, in a personal vehicle, that's not really a concern of ours. Well, maybe if they're a chief. But if there are other things mentioned, like personal stuff in that email, affairs, obviously may or may not be true, we don't care about that. All right. What we care about is the stuff that is related directly to the performance of their duties as public servants and civil service employees.
And if you have policy not being followed, and that endangers public servants all across the board, and if you have a city hall that is politicized and steering internal affairs investigations and steering the outcome of things, how can anyone, you know, believe that it's going to get cleaned up down there? It's going to continue to be nothing but this yin yang back and forth of he said, she said, you know, taking a shot when somebody does something wrong. I, I personally think the city council needs to weigh in and they need to hire somebody from the outside to do an investigation on all of it. And they need to figure it out.
Yeah, somebody
I mean, because
completely
you,
removed from all of this.
yeah, and because you can't, I mean, Charles Jacobs, you've done wade into it. You're steering officers to do things. I mean,
Yeah,
you steered an officer to go write a business a ticket because Pinnell was mad because dogs are barking, and he you know is alleged to have used his position to steer things. You know, there's tons of allegations about all these folks, and that crap's got to stop. Where is the mayor?
yeah,
Where
and
is the mayor? And
well,
what is their solution? It seems like to me to bring an old retired officer in to address it. No, I,
yeah, I don't
I
think so.
don't I don't think I don't think so.
And I wanna go back to a comment from Charles Rawson a little bit ago that I think I bypassed accidentally. He said, "I'm sorry, guys. I love the Bossier City Police Department, but there's bad cops, and I've seen the good ones and the bad ones, and it's the good ones that get punished for blowing the whistle. Hence, the Good Old Boys Network." All
Always
right.
is. So another email.
Okay. Which one? Let's see. What are we on? Cut 17. Is this the candidate one?
Cut 17.
Okay, let me switch screens over here. Oh, and I just heard back from the software guys. They said yes, on the new update, they did accidentally break the ability to share screens. They're working on a fix for that now, so hopefully by next Tuesday night I can share screens again. Okay, so I'll go ahead and take this one, I guess. So this one says Eric Faulting is running. I'm sorry, let me try again. Eric Faulting running for school board is an absolute joke. This is so that former amigo Shane Cheatham can still be in the loop of school board politics. He will be coached from sidelines if elected. They are lifelong friends and are both cut from the same cloth. Master manipulators and classic narcissists. Eric Faulting is nothing more than a used car salesman. He makes a point to be in the middle of community events and will give to causes, however, only with his name highlighted behind the giving. People who really want to help others do so without recognition. Any grown man that drives around town in 2 vehicles with personalized license plates of Faulting and Faulting 1 is damn sure not mature enough to be part of decisions for children, in my opinion. He does mention supporting Bossier teachers in his donation bio. He certainly deserves credit for this one. He supports teachers, all right. Married ones, single ones, and all in between have been recipients of his generosity, both financially and physically. That's not nice. Just what BPSC, Bossier Parish, well, maybe they meant Bossier Parish School Board needs. All right. I don't know Eric. Do you know Eric?
I never met him. Don't know if he's even friends with Cheatham. I I don't know, but again, here's more of the type stuff that we get sent, and you know, nothing to validate this.
Right.
But this is
Well,
obviously somebody's opinion.
I wanna go over here. This is so that Shane Cheatham can still be in the loop of school board politics. Now, Shane, you were on earlier, so if you're still watching, you've got to comment on this. Is that what all of this is? You want him on the school board just so you can stay in the loop, and because you're a master manipulator. That's interesting. Um, I want to go back up here. Let's see. Let's do. David Womack says, need Josie Wales. Melanie Stevenson Worley says, it's a freaking circus, and Estes and BJ need to go. Clearly, they are behind those emails. Future Mayor Jeremy Gallman. See what you're about to step into, Gallman? He says Jacobs abuses his power on this. Tommy needs to man up and be the mayor we voted for, not this guy sitting on his hands. Well, so now you know what not to do, future Mayor Jeremy Gallman. Okay. Somebody we hadn't heard from in a while. Mysterious Mark Smith, faulting for school board.
He's been gone for some time, and all of a sudden he's back. Interesting.
Very interesting. Let's see. Brandy Jones Faulting says, pleading the fifth. That's maybe a good stance to take. And Margie Ann Johnson says, you're reading emails from people you don't even know that won't say who they are or if what they said is true or not. But now it's out there, they have families too, and that is a very good point. But they're not only saying this information to us, I assure you. This is being said amongst themselves and to other people as well.
Yeah, and in fact, in the case that we discussed earlier, one of these emails that went out, in fact, there was a circle that we were being accused of being the people who generated the email. Not true. So if these are being put out there already out in the public, I mean, we're trying to help to bring some resolution to all this, and the mess at the police department, it doesn't seem to be getting better.
Yeah, exactly. So what else do we want to move on to? Oh, wait. Former amigo Shane Cheatham says, let me pull this one up. So, hell hath, no, I'm just listening, enjoying the new. Shane Cheatham says, hell hath no fury like a scorned woman. I'm just listening and enjoying the new local version of the National Enquirer. Good point. And Mark Smith says, I've been listening. No need to comment on boring shows. That's true, Mark.
Yeah, so Rex, what is all this business about First Cypress?
Well, here's the way I see it. Now, this is just my take on it. Is that, of course, First Bossier has been getting hammered for a while. Not just by us. They've literally been sued. We've just been reporting and giving our opinions on it, and some of our firsthand experience with their use of politics as a church weapon. I would argue weaponizing it. Now we're apparently getting information about, First Cypress, as it's called now. Now look, my knee-jerk reaction to these is this is actually coming from First Bossier to try to lob some grenades at First Cypress or Cypress Baptist. That may or may not be true. I don't know. And that's just kind of my take on it.
So here was the Cut 18. Here was the first email. Again, we've gotten multiple emails, but here was the first email. And, again, no idea, but I will say that, I saw a picture come across Facebook that it was in fact valid about this gift. So here's the email. All right, guys, let's find out if you guys are seeking the truth about things or are you biased like MSNBC, which, the challenge is another part of us, doing the email dump, because while we get this information sent to us, some people then turn around and accuse us of not, trying to find out who's right, who's wrong. Well, you know what? Some of all this crap, you can't find out who's right and who's wrong. Some of it you can, some of it you can't, but there's only so much time in the day.
Right.
Part of us putting this out here is to encourage other people to try to find some of the answers to all of this stuff. So let's find out if you guys are seeking the truth about things or are you biased like MSNBC? So did you hear about the pastor at Cypress and see the gift he was given by some friends, $120,000 gift? Let's just bypass the main question as to why he would accept such a gift and dig deeper into who and why it was provided. To start, let's quote John Freem and his live stream. Quote, "We all know about the problems at First Bossier. This can be found on Cypress Facebook Live. This was in reference to the power grab that was going on at First Bossier back in August of 2021 by certain staff members, along with coordinated efforts from members within First Bossier and the pastor's stance against politics in the church." Did you catch that, Rex?
Yeah, almost choked.
Okay, I'm going to read that again for those of you sitting in the back row. This was in reference to the power grab that was going on at First Bossier back in August of 2021 by certain staff members, along with coordinated efforts from members within First Bossier and the pastor's stance against politics in the church.
All right, pause.
So what they're saying,
Yeah, pause right there because I got to put in my little 2 cents. This is the first clue to me that this is coming from First Bossier.
yeah.
Period, full stop.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're saying that, you know, Jerkovich stepped up and was trying to put a stop to politics in church. Now, if we take a walk down memory lane, back in 2021, do you remember kind of what happened back during that time? If I recall correctly, there was some races, and I think you ended up having a mayor and a councilman standing on the stage up there, and you had somebody who wanted to be mayor, wanted to get on the stage, but wasn't allowed to get on the stage. Wasn't
Yes,
that in the spring of that same year?
I think so. As a matter of fact, if I look back through the show notes, we rolled that video because they live streamed it.
Absolutely, they did. So now they're saying that in August of 2021, you know, the position had changed. Tommy Chandler was sworn in as mayor by that time, I think, and that Jerkovich's position was he was against politics in the church.
Okay.
So I'm going to keep going forward. First Bossier has been a breeding ground for politicians for years. Once Dr. Jerkovich took a stance on this, he came under attack immediately from those within the church with deep political ties. When he would not give in to the pressure and political influence that had been so deeply rooted under previous administrations, there was no option but to try and remove him at all costs to secure a vote within the church that could sway an election in Bossier City. Hence,
That explains. Not to interrupt you, so keep your place. But that now explains why Jerk had Low Walker and King David literally on the stage just before an election. Now I get it. He wasn't trying to promote them. He was trying to stop it all. So he invited them up on the stage and handed them the mic.
and then had a change of heart and didn't let Tommy get up on the stage.
Right. Oh, it just makes perfect sense now. But all right, sorry, dude. Go ahead.
I don't know. There may have been some wisdom there, but just saying. Anyway, hence we see the numerous lawsuits and slander campaign against First Bossier trying to remove Dr. Jerkovich from his position. Now, for brute honesty, I have listened to your shows over the past months and have heard it said numerous times we have reliable sources. Bullcrap. You have the political machine lying to you. So, look, everybody else ain't the only ones getting called out. We're getting called out as well too.
Yeah.
So they go on. Duke, the same folks that are running the campaign against First Bossier and their pastor are the same ones that turned you over to Al Jazeera, and now you are running whisper campaigns against God's house.
Hmm.
Well, to that, I would say a lot, but it ain't, the show's not about me. In fact, somebody counseled us one time that don't let us make the show about us, but
Right.
we're not running whisper campaigns for nobody.
Yeah.
I mean,
Whisper
we're right.
campaigns are not done publicly like we're literally doing at the moment, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah. What are we whispering? And we're not
We're
attacking
whispering
God's
pretty
house.
loud, yeah.
We're attacking politics in God's house. And for the people that are saying that we're attacking God's house for attacking politics happening in the house, in God's house, I mean,
Well,
come on.
look, it's not exactly the same scenario, but what is my favorite verse? Is it John? Is it 2:14 or 2:15? You know, when Jesus Christ fashioned his own whips and premeditatively beat the hell out of the money changers, including flipping over the tables, but he literally went and made his own whips. I would argue this is a similar thing. Not that I'm trying to associate Duke or I with Christ, but the principle is still the same. Instead of money changers, these are politicians politicizing the church. And we're just kind of flipping over the tables and giving people who were actually there, who have commented with their real names in real time on the show, giving them a platform because of the tie into politics. But I digress, and I'm making the show about us, which we shouldn't be doing, so let's move on.
Yeah. So blank, whoever this is, they know somebody that I had a conversation with. And here's what they said. They said, blank told you the truth, Duke, and you agreed about a certain individual and how you knew there was something wrong with him. Shame on you if you buy into their lies. I am someone who is in the know about all things at First Bossier. I can clarify or reject anything you guys report on Bossier Watch. Get down to the truth about who provided the Corvette for Freem. I'll get you started. I'm assuming they left a first name empty with a last name of Dempsey. I don't know anybody. I I don't know who that is. I got no idea. But you know,
But here's the deal. Honestly, I don't care if the pastor of Cyprus, or I don't care if Jerkovich has got a red Corvette. I don't care if current church members at First Bossier give Jerkovich a red Lamborghini or a Bugatti. I don't care. That's up to them. Now, if local politicians are the ones doing the gift giving, well, that would get our attention here on Bossier Watch. But other than that, honestly, I got to tell you, I don't care if the pastor of Cyprus got a red Corvette.
Okay, well, then let's go to the next email that we were sent regarding this subject. And I don't know, majority of people may agree with you, but let's see whether or not everybody, do they, I don't know. I don't know where I'm at. I don't even
Yeah.
know where I'm at, but
And
here it is.
Well, and let me be clear, and I'll read this one out, I guess. But let me be clear. I'm not saying that the pastor receiving a brand new red Corvette is the best use of money that could have been, used to help feed some homeless or whatever. I'm not arguing for that. I'm just saying, there's the oxen treading the wheat. And if somebody gifted him that, that's between him and God. Let's put it this way. All right. So here's the next email. It says, hello, men. We are emailing you men today with a heavy heart. We have been attending Cyprus for quite some time now and are very disturbed with what we heard at church this morning concerning our pastor, and that some friends of his purchased him a $120,000 Corvette. Why would a group of friends do something so extravagant for a pastor unless they wanted something in return, or they were trying to make a power grab at our church to take it over? And I got to say, they have pretty decent grammar and punctuation as well in this one.
Well, it so far sounds like you have some of the original Cypress people that may not be liking the First Church Way that's went to Cyprus. And I
That's
can
right.
remember stories about First Church before Jerkovich. I don't even know the stories with Jerkovich, but I remember stories about gifts of cars and things like that down at First Church, to the
Right.
pastor.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, keep going.
A lot of us have close friends who attend First Bossier, and they have been warning us about some men who originally started issues at their church, and some of who are suing and warned us that if these men tried to get close to the pastor in any way, to beware. Well, we see one of those individuals doing that very thing, and after some research, we have learned that he has done the same thing at numerous churches he has attended. I'm going to pause right there. So they're they're taking the Jerkovich scenario and applying it at Cyprus and trying to flip it around, but that's okay. All right, some of us met tonight and discussed the situation and have grave concerns if this is a power move by old First Bossier members to gain more control in our church, and we will be next in the ungodly lawsuits that have taken place at First Bossier. We all had concerns when the old children's minister was hired from First Bossier and her entire team followed. We felt at that time John was being influenced by former members of First Bossier, and there was a deep concern as to why John would confirm this hire unless he was being guided by new friends that live close to him. We feel now that these men are the ones that have purchased this gift for our pastor. Would you guys please try and find out who these friends are that purchased this for our pastor? Hint, they might be the ones that are commenting on the Facebook post. Is this car in John's name, or was church finances part of this purchase? Do they have political ties in any way, and are they trying to solidify a political ground at Cyprus? We are so disappointed in John for accepting such a gift, and hope that he will return this gift and keep our church on the right path for reaching the lost. Well, all right. So I don't even know where to start with this because they're making it all about the car. Tie some politics into it, people. Look, now I guess one way is there are some politicians and former politicians that are also members of Cyprus now. I mean, that is a direct tie-in, I suppose.
So I don't know. I mean, the politicization. And I mean, is this just normal mega church stuff? Is
No,
that what this is?
let me answer that question. I don't know if it's normal or abnormal megachurch stuff, but I can tell you it happens even in small churches. Having dealt and been a member of a couple and some medium-sized churches as well, and having helped them a couple of different churches with different things, it doesn't just happen in the larger churches. It's a jealousy thing. And look, I don't know if any of this is true or not, but get off the focus of the Corvette. Find us something that's tied politically to this, or some political tie-in, or some political shenanigans that are going on. The pastor getting a new red Corvette's between him and the congregation. If you're going to say that just because a pastor got a new car, he should, as I alluded to earlier, sell it and feed the homeless, then so should every person in that church who gets a vehicle. I mean, think about that for a second. Period. Full stop. You buy your kid their first car. Well, why didn't you use that money to feed the homeless? You're a Christian too, supposedly. Now, I'm not defending the pastor because he's not my pastor, and honestly, I don't know him. But before I'm going to talk about any of the Cyprus stuff other than what we're showing tonight or spend any time on it, I want a political tie-in. I mean, period. And we've had that phone call as well. And, being a marriage counselor at the church is not enough of a tie-in for me to care. I don't care if our favorite local politician is being a marriage counselor at that church or not.
Yeah. So somebody higher up in the comments. Oh yeah, it was Cheatham, the local version of the National Enquirer.
Yes.
And
All right. I want to
so
point out. I want to point out one thing. Hold on. 2004 presidential election. What was the candidate's name? He almost got the DNC nomination. John. He looked like John
Edwards.
Ritter. John Edwards. And what publication broke the John Edwards love child story that everybody said was false? What publication broke that? It was the National Enquirer. Thank you very much, Shane Cheatham.
Yeah. Well, the point is this endless stuff that we get. I mean, I think part of why we're wanting to share this out, and because there's not enough time in the day for us to run all this stuff down, and you know, how are we going to be able to solve all these problems? We can't solve all these problems. So you can't set the bar that high. You've got to send us some meat and potatoes with some of this stuff, because a lot of it is hearsay. A lot of it is, we're trying to put out some facts. I mean, yeah, was there a Corvette? Yeah, there was. Can a distinction between First Church and Cypress be made? Yeah, both big churches, or one was, one wasn't. Did those type things happen at First Church? Yeah. Bossier City Police Department, or do you got one side of with cops and another side with cops? Is the city attorney steering things? Yeah, we've already seen proof of that, directing an officer to go write tickets against a business who happens to be, you know, yeah. I mean, there's something there, and we were able to research that and see that it did in fact happen. Um, we got to have more meat and potatoes with some of the stuff that's getting sent our way.
Yeah. And we talked about this on previous shows. Folks, we get a lot more emails than just those. So if you, again, if it's concerning First Church, if it's concerning Cypress, if it's concerning any church, then there needs to be a direct political tie-in. I don't care if the pastor got a red Corvette. I don't. I don't care if somebody bought him 10, give him 7 red Corvettes, one for every day of the week. I don't care. Give me the political tie-in. Show me that a politician bought that car. We've been asked to try to find out who did it. We have no idea. If it was done privately, those aren't public records we can access. Someone would have to reach out to us that has knowledge, direct firsthand knowledge of who purchased the vehicles. And I saw the post on Facebook, but I hadn't paid close enough attention to it. Maybe the people that bought it have already commented. I don't know. Maybe they want to keep it private. And I have a feeling,
Yeah.
my knee-jerk reaction is, and you may disagree with me, Duke, my knee-jerk reaction is, even if somebody sent us, the signed checks that paid for the vehicle, I'm not so sure I'm worried about posting who bought him a red Corvette, unless it happened to be our favorite local politician.
And if some of those people were in fact the people who got me and my family placed on the Al Jazeera with Muslims all around the world, you know, I want to know who those Christians are. If somebody knows that out there, because if they're going to, Cyprus now, I mean, I was sitting in the pew at Cyprus one time when I heard some of that talk about the Muslim stuff. So I'd be real interested to hear what they think about that now.
Yeah.
What's their take on it now? There's a political tie-in right there. But
Right.
whoever wrote that, if you got evidence of that, by all means, send it our way. I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah. Let's see here. Ryan, let's go through some comments real quick, and then we'll start wrapping it up. Ryan Haygood says, talk about little Mike Johnson and his wife lead it. See, there we go, leading the Cyprus Marriage Conference, political. Ryan, I got to disagree with you right there, and I've already told the other person that called me about that. I don't care if Mike is leading a marriage conference. That's up to the church. It is political because Mike is a politician, but I don't care. I mean, they've got their own podcast. I don't care if they're leading a marriage conference. Now, show me that they're leading a marriage conference and they're talking about stuff in the marriage conference or whatever that's overtly political. That is worth reporting on. But just the fact that they're doing a marriage conference, whether they're qualified to or not, that's up to the church. I don't care.
Yep. Well, I think we wrap it up right there. To anyone offended by tonight and the anonymous emails, our apologies, but this is what we get. This is what people are sending us, and a lot of the names and the people that are in there, somehow, some way, we hope that there is a resolution to these issues. And I don't know that some of the people in Bossier City are going to be able to figure this out. I think just don't see it.
Well, I want to put up one last comment from Michael Ferris. He says, if the Bossier Parish Republican PAC, I think he means the PEC, there is a huge difference, bashes each other in public like this, it becomes very clear why the organization is so ineffective. You have no clue, Michael Ferris. No clue what happens with that organization. I can tell you literally from firsthand experience. Okay. And hey, good, I see your last comment. I'm not saying that I disagree with that. I just don't care if he's doing, marriage counseling. Okay. We appreciate everybody watching. We're still at 107 people. That's awesome. We appreciate each and every one of you and your comments. We appreciate you sharing it out, tagging, whether you agree or disagree with us and all that sort of thing. The usual deal. If you have information you want to share with us, BossierWatch@gmail.com. Send us a Facebook message if it's anonymous or you don't want to have your name associated with it whatsoever for political or maybe job security reasons or something like that, or retaliation reasons. Make a free ProtonMail account. Don't put any identifying information. Send it to BossierWatch@ProtonMail.com. We do actually read all of those. We, every once in a blue moon, will share some of them. We do read them, try to see if there's any information worth looking into, like the Red Rover situation was easy, public records request. And again, we appreciate each and every one of you watching. If you want to donate some coffee money, go to BossierWatch.com or BossierWatch.org. Doesn't matter. Take you to the same place. There's a donation button. If you would like to advertise on the show, reach out to us as well, either through ProtonMail or BossierWatch@gmail. And we would be glad to talk to you about that, because the show does cost us money to do and a whole lot of time, especially Mr. Duke Lowry's time. So with all that spill said, anything else you got, Mr. Lowry?
Good night, and let's go Bossier.
Yeah, let's go Bossier.
Okay.
I'll tell you where I'm going. I'm going to get supper.
Cheney's gone.
Yes.
Cheney's gone.
Go away, Liz. All right. See y'all later. Thanks a lot, folks. We will see y'all next Tuesday night. All right. Here we go.